Good evening, ladies and gents. In today's video we'll be discussing Base Chain. This is Coinbase's new layer 2 built on top of Optimism, and it's currently printing millionaires. So I'm going to show you exactly how to use this chain and exactly how to be able to find gems on this chain, because the interesting thing about this chain is it's a one-way bridge. So if you bridge to this chain, you can't bridge back out. So the money is staying in this chain. So the pot of money on this chain is only growing and not shrinking at all. So it's likely, if this keeps going, that the best coins on this chain are going to keep printing. There's also a tiny possibility, I say a tiny possibility, but there is a possibility because of the whole SEC securities ruling that Coinbase might actually launch a token for interacting on this chain. Now that possibility is low, but it is now, in my opinion, a potential possibility, maybe a 10% chance or something like that. So this whole base narrative really kicked off a few days ago when this guy turned $500 within the space of 24 hours into $2 million. So obviously that was crazy, and Monkey Brains sees a big green candle, it immediately wants to ape in, and so a ton of people bridged over into the base chain, including myself. I only sent like 0.1 Ethereum over across into the base chain and to try and find the next bald. So he made this money in the ball token, and obviously the ball token was funny, and it did well because Brian Armstrong, the CEO and creator founder of Coinbase, is extremely bald. Not just bald, like next level bald, let's be real. But yeah, this ball token went to almost $100 million or something outrageous within the space of 2 days. And then like the liquidity hadn't been burned, the contract hadn't been renounced, so the owner of the bald token, the owner of the contract, just went ahead and rogued the token. So this guy didn't sell at $2 million, thought it was going to keep going. So he wasn't a rich guy, it seems, so he just made a huge amount of money overnight, but didn't take any profits, and it all went to zero. However, there are some other coins that do have the contract renounced and do have liquidity burned, so they can't rug it. So that's one of the most important things you want to do if you're buying into these kind of meme coins, speculative coins, is you don't want there to be the possibility of a rug. So I'm going to mention a few coins that are better than this poor guy ball token. So there hasn't really been an official release of the base chain right now. Coinbase haven't really said much about it, but degens are already using this base chain because, you know, it's open source and everything. So people are already using this. There's already dexes on it. There's already apps on it. You can get your funds onto it. You just send Ethereum to this address, and then you'll have the equivalent amount of Ethereum on the base chain's network, and you just have to change the RPC. I'll link in the description how you can do that, but basically have a new chain on your MetaMask profile, and then you can go ahead and trade on the base chain. So I think the base chain is the most interesting thing that is happening in crypto right now. It's still the biggest narrative, and for as long as that remains, until something new shiny comes out and until there is an easy bridge out of base, I think there is still opportunities on the base chain to make some X's. Now you can bridge out of base chain, but it's a bit of a nightmare, so most people aren't going to bother doing it, and if they have Ethereum on the base chain, they're probably not going to let it all sit there. So that's the idea. People who have the Ethereum there are probably going to leave it in some altcoins or some meme coins on the base chain, and anyone who's bridging over, it's the same thing. So the pie of potential money that can go into these coins is only growing. So that's kind of the idea, until a proper bridge is built that you can easily bridge back out of the base chain onto Ethereum. So now you know how and why to bridge to the base chain potentially. But the next question is, what can you do and what can you buy on the base chain? So first I went on to LeadSwap. So LeadSwap was a DEX, I'll say was, but it still is a DEX that had functionality for base chain. So I bridged a little bit of Ethereum over to the base chain. I saw Bald was already a 40 million market cap. I was like, nah, no thanks. Like the max upside there is like 100 million, which is 2x. I'm going to look for those real degen shit coins that I can make at least a 10x on. So how I did it, I went onto DEX Screener, I filtered for a base chain, and then I put filters for newest coins, so new coins that have been made in the last 6 hours or in the last 1 hour, or like kept adjusting the settings of like newly released coins, and then I filtered by the top performing in the last 5 minutes, the top performing in the last 1 hour, the top performing in the last 3 hours. So I wanted a coin that was relatively new, that was performing well in like the last couple of hours. So I was sifting through coins like that, and I found Toshi and Moki. So these two coins, I wasn't sure what they meant, but I was like, okay, I looked at their charts, look strong. And the other thing, you have to be very careful on any sort of platform, but particularly on Base, or not particularly actually, but when you're looking at these kind of new coins, these very low market cap coins, you need to watch out for honeypots. So you have to maybe buy a little bit and see if you can actually sell some. So buy like €1 worth and see if you're able to sell it, because sometimes they'll put a 100% sell tax, so no one can sell it. So anyone who buys is just going to increase the price, and then they'll just rogue the liquidity. So you have to watch out for honeypots. I got scammed by a honeypot. You can't just look to see if there's buys and sells, because they can have wallets that are allowed to sell for a 0% sell tax, and they'll just make it look like it's possible to sell. Like, you just have to be careful. So maybe look on Twitter and see if there's an actual team behind it, or if there's actually people talking about it and able to sell it. Nevertheless, you found a low cap degen coin that isn't a honeypot. What's the next step? Go to Twitter. I went to Twitter with Toshi and Moki, just put in the tickers, searched it, and see what people are saying about it. Realised that that was the names of Brian Armstrong's two cats, and Toshi being named after Satoshi Nakamoto. So I was like, yep, that's perfect. Put a little bit of money in both of them. Moki, which was the lower market cap, like I think Toki like initially did a 2x for me, the Moki did like a 5 or 6x, and then I went to bed. I was like, let's see what happens in the morning. And yeah, if I had stayed up another few hours, but I live in Ireland and the Americans kept pumping it overnight, but I didn't get out in time. Didn't sell the top, unfortunately, and within that day, LeadSwap got compromised. So the DEX that I was using got compromised. So basically, my tokens were stuck. I can't sell them, so that was a bit unfortunate. But Toshi came in clutch. So that was the name of the cat that was named after Satoshi Nakamoto. They came in clutch and airdropped everyone a new token, and they put liquidity on SushiSwap. So if you want to trade on Base, you can trade on SushiSwap and another few dexes. But SushiSwap is a very reputable dex. Like, that's not going to rogue, that's not going to be compromised. It's been around for years and years. But anyway, Toshi airdropped these coins, and Toshi is doing extremely well. This is the chart over the last few hours since it relaunched on SushiSwap, and it's already at a 10 million fully diluted market cap. So it's looking like Toshi is the blue chip market meme coin on Base right now, because Bald obviously rogued, and yeah, it's just like owned by a scammer. But Toshi has actually looked after the community in the fact that they remade the entire coin, airdropped everyone a new token and everything. So people really like that. So that's looking like it still has potential 10x upside. I don't see it going past like 100 million. I don't see it necessarily getting to 100 million either, but you know, there is upside still there, and only a 100% downside that is possible. But that's how I found those coins initially, just by sorting by best performing in the last 5 minutes, best performing in the last 1 hour, and you also want one that are relatively new with lower market caps and aren't honeypots. Search the tickers on Twitter and see what people are saying about them. See if there's much hype, see if people are like seem bullish on them, seeing what the vibe is on these coins, buy a little bit of them. And the other really nice thing about trading on Base is that it's actually really easy to trade in and out of these. Like, you can take small profits on obvious pumps. Like, it's easy enough to spot tops, like when there's a big massive buy coming in and it kind of looks like there's a double top or something, you can take a bit of profits in there. And then it's easy enough to see where there's going to be support, because there's no traders really on this. It's just easy to get in and out because you're just trading against people's emotions. There's not real like leverage, there's no shorting, anything like that. So it's quite easy to increase your stack that way as well on these meme coins and reduce your risk by selling on pumps and then buying back in a little bit lower, the same amount of coins, but you have a little bit of extra Ethereum. Now, personally, I'm using SushiSwap, but there are other exchanges and other dexes you could use and potentially could get airdrops for using. But obviously, like LeadSwap, they could get compromised, so only use a small amount of funds on these exchanges. For example, here's one called DAkiSwap, which is one of the biggest ones on Base, but one I definitely would recommend potentially looking into and potentially investing in the coin, called Aerodrome, and the ticker is VELO, V-E-L-O. I haven't done deep dive research into this yet. I've just seen a lot of Gigabrain people on Twitter talking about this project, and it's on the optimism stack, and people are very bullish on optimism. So potentially something worth looking into. So do I think this pump on base chain coins and this narrative is going to continue for much longer? To be fully honest, I have no fucking clue. But I think there is a probability that it could, because of the reasons I mentioned, in the fact that there's not really much else happening in crypto. But if you do see some other narrative coming along in the next few days, like a week ago it was Telegram bots, then it was the hamster racing, then it was the base chain stuff. Like, if there's another narrative that comes in the next few days, then probably the base chain coins are not going to perform very well, as people get, distracted by something else, the new shiny thing. However, if nothing else comes along and there is no bridge out of it, then I don't see why else people wouldn't go speculate on this new platform and this new shiny object. But if you do make a multiple, like a 2 or 3x, I would highly suggest you take a little bit out, take some profits, at least take your initial out, and then free roll with the rest. That's what I'm doing at the moment. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you learned something, and see you in the next one. Cheers.